Hey everyone, I'm Lauren from My Something Beautiful Life, and since we are approaching the end of the year, I thought it would be fun to talk about goal setting. And I want to tell you a little bit about my process and just how I decide which goals to set. It's going to look a little different this year, but overall my process is the same. I'm just adding a few extra things in just to see how they work for me, but we will talk more about that in a minute. So just to jump right into it, the first thing that I do is that every year around September, I want to say, I create a note on my phone and I start brain dumping anything related to goals. I have a section for word of the year where I can start listing off ideas that I think of. I put down any goal ideas that I have or any thoughts about how I want to feel in the next year. Things that aren't working in my life right now. Sometimes I'll even put in quotes that I found that just kind of represent how I want the next year to look, things like that. So that is my very first step. And I'm not actually going to show you that document because it's very personal, and to be honest, a lot of it never turns into goals anyway, but I just need it to get things out of my head. And then it does help me later when I am setting my goals, because then I just have a general idea about the direction I want to go. And I have just found it really helpful to just have a place where I can write all of this down very early on in the year without worrying about it being too early, because nothing's permanent at that point. It's all just ideas floating around in my head. And so that's pretty much all I do for the first few months. I mean, September through probably even November, maybe November I start planning a little bit more. But really, I don't start any serious goal setting until December. And I never set my actual goals until the week between Christmas and New Year's. In fact, to be honest, we are at December 30th right now, and I still have not finalized what my goals are. And you know, that's okay. It doesn't even need to be done by January 1st. I just think it's kind of fun. It's the time of year when I actually have some time to sit down and think about it. And I'm usually just kind of in the mood at that point. And so I like to do it then, but if I don't finish everything I want to do before January, that's totally fine. It'll all work out. The next thing that I usually do is I will watch like goal setting tips, usually from Makselife. So Makselife is like the backbone of my goal setting system. This is my MäksēLife Planner for 2025. And while I have some other planners I'm going to show you that also have some goal setting aspects in them, Makselife is the backbone of everything. This is the system I use, and everything else is just supplemental to it. If you are interested in purchasing a Makselife, I do have a discount code that you can use there for, I believe it's 10% off, and my code is Lauren10. And I believe that code even works if you wanted to join Club Moxie. I think it works on your first quarterly payment, so you can get 10% off of that too. I love the Makselife system. I love Club Moxie. Both have been so helpful for me. The goal setting system just works the way my brain works. And so I'm very excited to use it again in 2025. So the goal setting videos that I tend to watch are usually all from Makselife. This year, Sierra did a 3-part series that was amazing. I will link that below. It was so totally thinking outside the box when it comes to goals. And it was far more than just, this is how you fill out the forms that are in our planner. It was just such good information to think about. And so definitely check that out if you haven't seen it yet. Also, she has goal setting series from every year. They go from like an in-depth 5-part series. There's another 3-part. I think there might be a 1-part one at some point. Maybe last year? I don't even remember. But they have tons of them. They've all been really good. And so I love going back and rewatching those. And they just help get me thinking about goals and, again, just which direction I want to go and how I want to feel in the new year. The next step that I take is reflections. I don't have it with me, but Makselife actually does have a reflections notebook. I believe you can purchase them on their website, but they were also giving them away as a free gift with purchase for everyone who bought the 2025 planner. And there's tons of good reflection questions in there. Along with that, most of these other planners also have some form of reflections in them. So I have the Erin Condren Petite Year in Preview. And so this has some, if I can get to the beginning. So this one has some reflections and goal brainstorming, things like that. and then it has some goal setting in it, which I will fill out the goal setting part after I finalize my goals in my Makselife. And the Shelly planner also has some review questions in it. So we have a few pages here of different prompts, and then a place to set your goals and plan ahead. Another one I plan to really focus on this year is the Sprouted Planner. This one actually has a pretty good goal setting system all on its own. There are 4 different parts. You have your values, people, reminders, and your year list, and a hope for the year. And so I'm really excited to jump into these as well. This is very unique to anything else I've seen before. And so I think this is going to work very well alongside the Makselife. And then the last goal setting planner that I have is my new daily grind planner. Again, this is something I have never used before, but it is highly focused on goals, but it has more of a daily system for setting goals. And so I'm really excited to use this also in the new year. And so any reflections that's in here, I will do that as well. The next thing that I do when I'm setting my goals is I fill out these pages from Makselife. So Makselife has a ton of free printables on their website. I think this is one of them. I'll have to double check, because originally I think it was exclusive to Club Moxie, but I feel like I may have seen it on their website under the free printables, but I'm not sure, so I'll double check on that. Either way, it's pretty simple. It's a pretty basic concept. So here, you're just going to brainstorm what you want your goal to look like. Oh, and one thing I should mention is that this is divided up by area of life. So the Makselife system has 8 different areas of life. And so I have 8 different pages of this to do one for each area. So you just have a brainstorm for each category, and then you narrow it down to 3 goals that will have the greatest impact on your life. I did this last year and it was such a light bulb moment. I can't even imagine setting goals without this page anymore. It just helped everything be so clear in my mind. These pages last year are how I narrowed down my goals and decided what they were actually going to be for the year. It was really helpful to narrow it down to 3. That's definitely not required. That's not even something that's prescribed by the Makselife system. It's very much a do-it-your-own-way type of system. But when I narrowed it down to 3 and was able to just focus on 3 different things, it made such a huge difference in even just realizing what I actually wanted for the year. I absolutely love these pages, but this actually brings me to my next step. So this is basically where I decide my goals. After I'm done with this, that's when I will work in all of these other planners. I will put my goals into them and fill out the pages according to the goals I have set. But also, I will fill out the toolkits. So Makselife has 2 different toolkits. There's an annual toolkit and a quarterly one. And inside the annual one, if we flip through a few pages, okay, there are actually this same page. It does come with a page for each of the areas of life. You can see them at the top. There's personal, fun and recreation, work and learning, etc. But it's the same basic layout. So if you have the toolkits, you already have these pages. You don't need to try to find them on the website. They're already here. So I will go through the toolkits and fill out any of the pages that I plan to use. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not planning to use all of these pages. I've seen people talking in the Facebook group asking others how they're planning to use specific pages. My theory is if I can't think of a way to use it, then I probably don't need to use it. A good example of that is this perpetual calendar page that folds out. I have no idea what I would do with this, and so I'm not going to do anything with it. This is a page for goal setting tips, so this is more just reference. Here is a page for your values. This one I will do. The AM and PM routines. I do love this page. However, this isn't a season that I'm in right now where I'm trying to create morning and evening routines, and so I probably will not use this one at this point. And then of course we just talked about the Compass assessment worksheets, so I will definitely be using those ones. These ones are also referenced, but I really love them, and these are powerful questions for your goals. There are 4 pages. Each one has 2 of the areas of life on them, and they just have really good questions to think about while you're setting your goals. And then the last 2 things in the annual toolkit are the word of the year card and the personal mission statement. And I do plan to use those. I may not use the word of the year one, but that's really just because I want more room than this to write what the word means to me. And so I might just do it on an extra page in my planner, just journal a little bit about my word of the year. But I definitely do plan to use the personal mission statement one. So that's what's inside the annual toolkit. And then in the quarterly one, so this is just 1 quarter's worth. If you want to use it every quarter, you would need to buy 4 of them. So the first one is the quarterly reset checklist. This one I've been debating if I need it. I think I'm going to use it, but I don't think I'm going to actually check off anything. I think I'm going to use it more as reference. And what I started noticing is that the things on this list are things that correlate to some of the pages in this toolkit. And so as long as I'm filling out the pages that I plan to fill out, I don't know if I really need the checklist. But it is good reference to have. And I love that it has a little note about quarterly resets from Sierra. Okay, so the first page is quarterly intentions. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to use this. The intentions page of the planner is not my favorite. I never reference it. I mean, I can fill out most of it. Usually, sometimes I'll skip some of it, but it's just not something that motivates me. So honestly, I probably won't do the quarterly intentions, but I absolutely plan to do quarterly goals. I started doing this last year and I love setting quarterly goals. I really like the process of breaking down my goals. And so to go from yearly to quarterly to monthly to weekly, it just works for my brain. And so I really love the quarterly goal page. There's also some quarterly reflection questions, and this one I will be doing. I love doing reflections. I think they are super important. And so definitely using the quarterly reflections. These monthly trackers, so there's 3 of them in here, 1 for each month. I have no idea what to use them for. I think they're supposed to be like habit trackers or something. I can't think of what to use them for, so I'm probably not going to use them at all. Same with the ideal week. Well, I know what I would use it for. Honestly, I just don't want to. I don't like planning out my ideal week because I like my time being flexible. I don't like having it structured like that. Plus, I never really know which days I'm going to be working and which ones I'm not. It's not something that stays consistent from week to week. And so it just feels kind of pointless for me to plan out an ideal week because it's always changing. The next page that we have is the yes/no list. And I will absolutely do this. I love having a yes/no list. And so definitely plan to do this every quarter. There's also a seasonal bucket list. This one I've gone back and forth on. I love doing bucket lists and I love doing seasonal activities. But when I was thinking about planning out a seasonal bucket list for every quarter, first of all, quarters don't line up with the seasons very well, and that was just hurting my head, especially because we have winter at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. And so I was trying to figure out how to divide it up, whether I divide it by quarter or whether I actually divide it by season. Anyway, I'm not saying that I won't do a seasonal bucket list. I just don't want to commit to it. If I feel like doing it in the moment, then I will create one. I have done them for the past couple months for November and December, and it's been really fun. But I just don't know if it's something that I need to do all the time. And I really don't want that to be something I say I'm going to do and then just never do. So I'm just not going to commit to it. If I feel like doing it in the moment, then I will. If not, then I'm not. The next page is a monthly recap. So again, we have 3 of these, 1 for each month. And I do plan to do this. So this is different from the reflections page, which there are monthly reflections pages in the planner. This is more like a currently. So it's what am I reading, watching, listening to, loving, eating, drinking, celebrating, feeling. I really love this idea, kind of just more for the memory of it, just to remember what I was doing each month. So I do plan to do the monthly recaps. The wins and highlights I also plan to do. There's, again, 1 for each month, and I love the idea of just tracking your wins and highlights throughout the month so that when you get to the end of the month, you can remember everything that happened, which is not something I'm usually good at, is remembering what happened by the end of the month. So I just love this. It's an ongoing list for each month to just kind of track those good things that happen. There's also a gratitude page for each month, and this is the last thing in the quarterly toolkit. And while I absolutely plan to practice gratitude, I'm not going to be doing it in my MäksēLife Planner, or at least not on a page like this. I might do it daily in my weekly spreads. I might do it in an entirely different planner. I haven't quite decided yet, but I will be tracking gratitude in some way. I just don't think it's going to be on this piece of paper. So I probably won't use these at this point, but maybe at some time in the future, it could be a good option. All of that together pretty much sums up how I set my goals once we get to that point of having those extra pages filled out, I think the next step after that would be breaking them down into my quarterly goals, my January goals, and then my first week goals. But that's going to be an ongoing process. But I guess it does technically count as the next step in my goal setting. The last thing I want to show you today is a little bit about how I set up my MäksēLife Planner. So I'm going to move some of these things out of the way, and then we will flip through some of the changes that I have made to this planner. When it comes to setting up my planners, I will be the first to admit that I'm not normal. I will do things that are excessively inconvenient just to have my planner set up the way I want it to be. And there were a few things that aligned that made it so that I can have my planner exactly how I want it to be. First of all, the 2025 planners come with a massively huge coil. There were a few reasons for this. I think one of them was to help the interchangeable covers not pop off when the planner gets full, and also for people who like to fill up their planner with a lot of stickers. Having a larger coil is really helpful for that. So that was the first thing. Second of all, of course, is the toolkits. And then third, this is my planner from this current year. And this is not a flagship planner, this is the monthly planner. And so within each month, it actually had no weekly pages, but it had a couple of notes pages. Now, I did not fill out those notes pages as much as I thought I was going to, and so I had a lot of extra blank pages in here. And so what I did was I uncoiled both of these planners. Apparently that's a theme for this year because I have done it to 3 different sets of planners now, which we will talk about the other 2 in upcoming videos. But I went through this planner and took out all of the extra blank note pages. The only note pages I left are the ones that I wrote on. And so what I did, I went through and added in pages where I want the toolkit pages to be. I really wanted the pages that I'm using in my planner, and I was having a hard time trying to figure out how to do that. The best thing I came up with prior to what I actually did was to punch the holes in each of these in order to kind of add them in like a tip-in. So if you see post-it notes throughout the planner that say tip-in, that's why. Because originally I was planning to just punch holes in these so I could just pop them into the coil. But what I ended up doing instead was adding in those blank lined pages wherever I wanted one of the toolkit pages. So I just have a page where I can attach that toolkit page to it. So most of this is noticeable in the beginning. So we have the assessment. If you want to see a full flip through of this planner, by the way, I have the review of it. I can link that below and I can put it up here in the cards. So you can see the full flip through of this planner as it was when I bought it, because right now I really just want to show you the pages that I added in. So the first page I added in right here, it's just a single double-sided lined page. And this is where I'm going to put my values. So I dedicated both pages to that, and there's my little tip-in note. Then here, right after this page that has different things to consider when looking at each area of life, I am going to put in those pages that have the questions for each category. So I have 2 double-sided pages, one side for each of the toolkit pages. Then I have a third page here for the goal setting quick tips. And then this is where I'm going to do my word of the year and mission statement right next to the goal brainstorm. And then after the goal setting, so you have the vision board, the idea garden, and then we're going to go into the quarterly and monthly pages. So at the beginning of each quarter, I have a yes, no page and a quarterly goals page. And then at the end of every month, I have one double-sided page that will have the monthly recap and the wins and highlights for the month. So then when we go to the end of the quarter, okay, so the yes, no list and the quarterly goals, I put at the beginning of each quarter. At the end of each quarter, so we have the monthly reflection page, then we have the monthly recap and the monthly wins and highlights. Then it goes into the quarterly pages. So here's the quarterly compass that comes with the planner. And then on the back of it, there's a lined page. So that's going to be my quarter reflection. And then again, the yes, no list for the quarter, for the next quarter. and then the quarterly goals for the next quarter. So I hope that makes sense. You can let me know if you have any questions. Putting it together, I had to do it multiple times because I just kept leaving things out and I was trying to decide where things are going. The bonus of having the post-it notes is not only does it remind me what I was thinking at the time, but because the pages aren't actually in there yet, I can change my mind if when I go to put them in, I don't actually want them there. But hopefully I should have the amount of blank pages I need for putting in all of the toolkit pages that I want. And then at the very end of the planner, so we have a section for extras. And here I actually just put in any of the extra, oh, that one doesn't need to be there. At least I hope not. I hope that wasn't a mistake. Anyway, I just left in all of the extra note pages that I had because there are some other goal related things that I want to track. Like I want to have a books to read page. I actually want to do a 25 in 2025 list, and so that will probably be in the back too. I'm going to have a page for my favorite affirmations, and I honestly don't even remember what. I feel like there were like 5 or 6 different pages that I was planning to put in the back, and if anything extra comes up, I have more room to add in any of that too. And then at the very end in the pocket, I have some stickers here. These are just the stickers that have come with the planners over the years. I think this is the current one. I just cut the page in half and cut off the spiral. Actually, it's probably on this side. And then they just fit nicely in the pocket. So generally with my planners that I use for my schedule and to-do list, they don't come out very pretty. They're very functional and I don't tend to use a lot of stickers. But one thing I really want to focus on this year with my Makselife is I want this to be a pretty planner. This is going to be a memory. It's going to have my goals in it. It's going to have reflections. It's going to have wins and highlights for the year. So many good things that I want to remember and look back on. I'm still trying to decide how I'm going to use the weekly pages. I have a few different ideas. I might use them to track what I'm actually doing during the day, as you would in a weekly planner. And if I do that, I probably actually will decorate it. But I also thought of using it as daily reflection. I could use the weekly pages for the gratitude. So I have lots of ideas. I just haven't finalized exactly what it's going to be, but I want this to be a book full of memories. Not necessarily memory planning and where I'm putting pictures in and scrapbooking throughout it. Honestly, I don't think I could keep up with that. But I do want to look back at this planner at the end of the year and just see all that I've done throughout the year, all that I've accomplished, and of course, all my reflections. I'm a huge fan of journaling, and so to me, this is a form of a journal. So I'm really excited for it. I'm very excited to finish my goals and to get them put in here. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you do have any questions about my goal setting process or Makselife or any of the other planners I mentioned, I will link everything below. And feel free to ask me any questions that you have. I always have good intentions that I'm going to go through my goals with you for the year. But then usually it just comes down to that my goals are more personal. And so I don't know how much we will talk about goals throughout the year. But I hope that getting a glimpse at how I plan out my goals will help you as you set yours, because they're very personal. I can't tell you which goals to set, and honestly, Sierra does a much better job at teaching goal setting than I ever could, which is why I will link to her goal setting series in the description, because she is just amazing at teaching goal setting. But I am always happy to answer any questions I can. So feel free to leave them in the comments and I will get back to you. If you do want to see the full flip through of Makselife, you can check out this video right here. And thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.